Greetings everyone, it's Reed here, and I've got a rant today. So, I'm having a big issue with all this "you must be closed" that you're going on in New York. You can't go to church. You can't do this. You can't do this. Now, why am I complaining? Shouldn't we be concerned about lives? Sure, you can be concerned about lives. But if you give the power to the government where they can say, in an emergency, we're going to suspend these rights. We're going to suspend you from being able to associate with other people. You're going to suspend the Second Amendment, like LA closing all of those gun stores. My governor trying to order all the gun stores to be closed. My county saying, screw off. We're going to stay open and keep doing things. Thankfully, our sheriffs are my county's part of the Second Amendment sanctuary zone. And then, New York saying everything's shut. New Jersey saying we're closing NICS, no more guns. And all this sort of stuff. Forget it. If you say the government has the power in an emergency to do things, they will abuse it, and abuse it horribly. Throughout history, we've seen people think, in an emergency, we have to get rid of this right. And guess what? It never comes back. No. Our founding fathers actually talked about these sort of things. And if you get a chance to read some of the Federalist Papers, actually, speaking of which, we should go over a lot of the Federalist Papers on this channel. They are a very good read. And the Anti-Federalist Papers. They also have lots of great information. But they talked about this sort of thing. It's one of the reasons why that amendment, like troops cannot be housed in your houses. The U.S. population back then was getting horribly, hideously abused by saying, well, it's emergency. We got to take over your place. You got to feed us. You got to take care of us. You got to do all this stuff for the troops. It's an emergency. You got to help out. Yeah. Well, then it just became, we're just kind of taking over your area. We're taking over your land. We're kicking you out of your house. Go somewhere else. This is ours now. And that was a big, big problem. So when you say, we can close churches, we can, do all those things, it gives them way, way too much power. And if you're saying, hey, Reed, but the states, they have the authority to do this, I fully and completely disagree. Okay, imagine Japan decides to attack us again, World War II, Pearl Harbor, all over again. I know, crazy thought. It probably would never happen. I put that percentage chance at, 0.0000 something percent. But, let's say it happened. But, we won't have the federal government round up all the Japanese and intern them. No, we'll do it at the state level because, the rights not enumerated in the Constitution are left to the states. So that'd be perfectly legal, right? Do you honestly think that would fly? Come on. No, it wouldn't fly. Not at all. And in fact, when all the lawsuits and stuff like that got done with the Japanese internment and all that, they were pretty darn specific about these things. You can't just suspend rights. Everyone gets due process. It's the reason why you can't just round up all the people here claiming asylum and say, no, goodbye. They all got to go through the court process. And America's weird. We believe everyone gets their say. And so we give everyone the due process, the time in court, their chance to make their case. So when you say we're going to suspend all these rights for everyone because it's an emergency, this is a horrifically bad idea. All right? Imagine, let's go down this rabbit hole some, and stuff. We say, hey, it's an emergency. No more congregating and associating with people, okay? And we're worried about the chances of violence and all that springing up because things are getting ugly, supplies are getting limited and all that, and we don't want any flash mobs and all that. So no talking to anyone on the phone. You can only call 911 if you need something. So we're shutting down your phones. You can't talk to anyone else. No text, nothing. We're installing a giant super firewall across the entire U.S. So you are only authorized to visit government-approved sites for information, government-approved news channels, government-approved text messaging. No talking to other people, right? No leaving your home. We're going to have drones flying everywhere supervising you. And if you go outside, you're in big trouble. We're going to weld your door shut and lock you in. I know, that's completely off the wall crazy, but it's not that crazy. Not that far down, That's the problem. When you start saying, it's an emergency, people's lives are at stake, to heck with you. I completely disagree. The other thing is this Constitution. There's the Supremacy Clause. It is the supreme law of the land. It overrides state law. The states cannot say, inside our state and stuff like that, that you do not have such and such rights. Baloney. For all those people that have said the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were never supposed to apply to the states, I completely and totally disagree with you. There is a lot in the Federalist Papers supporting the idea that the Bill of Rights fully was against the states, okay? The whole thing that we started saying that the Constitution wasn't the supreme law of the land inside the state zone is a weird, bizarre thing that cropped up in the 1900s. And effectively was around gun control, when they were trying to ban and control the weapons. So these arguments started popping up, okay? So to say that, you no longer have the right to freely associate, you no longer have the right to, freely practice your religion, and the right to speak freely, because the state style necessitates an emergency, do you honestly believe that flies? I mean, that's my question to you is, do you believe that is absolutely true because you're in the state and the state says you can't do this anymore, that really flies? Why in the world, inside the Constitution, would we write out saying the people? Okay, if those rights and all that did not apply because the states could do what they wanted, why wouldn't they just say, the federal government will not do blah? Right? Why is it saying the people can have this right? The people can do this. If it was only supposed to be things spelled out that the federal government couldn't do and all that, why wouldn't we say the federal government will not do blah, such and such as to the state? Blah, 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 the state will control, blah, blah, blah. The language doesn't fly. It doesn't make any sense. And the Supremacy Clause basically said, yes, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land and overrides the state. And there's a lot. In fact, if we want to get deep into the legal side, and let me know in the comments if you guys want to, we can start going through case law, digging up cases, going all sorts of stuff, and digging in through a lot of this stuff. Like I said, I do get interested in the law, and I've long thought about going to law school and doing all that because I'm a complete another nutball. Lee's back there just kind of going, Reed, you got too much going on as it is. And yeah, she's shaking her head going, yep, that's exactly what I'm thinking, you nut. And my cat's down here looking at me, hey, please pick me up. Here, I'll show you. So Philip also agrees. He says that we need to be standing up for our rights. So like that. Okay, so when I'm talking about saying we need to get out there and fight back, go after this, am I saying, let's grab our stuff, load up, and march down on them and show them we're the boss right now? No, I don't think it's time to be reaching down for the ammo box option of defense. No, right now we still have options to turn this around and fight back against this. And particularly what I'm saying is we need to write, gripe, call, send emails, everything else to make it very politically unsavory to keep pushing this sort of thing. To say, we are not going to accept this, and if you keep doing this, there's going to be riots and protests in the streets. Your political career is done. You keep going down this road. That makes them think a little bit harder about what they're doing, And especially when you have leaders saying, it's an emergency, we got to do this, people's lives are at stake. Those are the worst people to have around. The worst. Okay? They will gladly take everything away because it might save you. The heck with that. America was founded on dangerous freedom. And like I've said before, it will cost lives, blood, and everything else. Freedom is dangerous. And if you are American, you are to choose to live dangerously. All right? So remember that. Remember, part of being America is it is dangerous. Okay, so the other thing we can do is make certain we support the organizations fighting for our civil liberties, like the Second Amendment Foundation, Gun Owners of America, Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF. They actually do a lot of fighting for civil liberties related to online things so that the government can say, hey, we need to get into your device, so you have to give us your passcode. If you don't, we're going to throw you in a cell and lock you away forever. They're a good organization to be aware of. So like that. I'll put some links to these groups down there in the pinned comments so you can take a look and check them out. But that's what I think we should really be doing, making that we support them. See, when, back in New Orleans, when Katrina came through and all this stuff, and, they decided, hey, we're going to go around door to door and start taking guns and seizing them from people. And the video came out where they went in and just literally, went after the grandma and threw her to the ground, took her revolver and marched out because no one was allowed to have guns suddenly. Eventually, the lawsuits went through and everything else. And then they decided, no, you can't do that. You can't just take away civil rights because of the emergency. Right now, you can see they're not doing the march door to door to start taking weapons. They're saying, okay, we're just going to close access to the guns. New lawsuits. Unfortunately, you don't see broad, sweeping decisions come down out of the Supreme Court very often. Usually they're very narrow tailored. And so you got these little jerks out there who want to be petty tyrants. It's like, well, they said we can't do this, but they didn't say we couldn't do that. And then they do it. And then you got to fight all the way through the court and do that. Yeah, I think a lot of people, there should be penalties for that stuff. You violate the Constitution, it's later decided, instant charges of treason, and you get to go to trial. Yes, I think a lot of sovereign immunity needs to be reversed. Big time. But that's a rant for another time. Anyways, there's my thoughts on this mess and why I think that what's going on. Asking us, saying, hey, Americans, this is a big, dangerous threat. Could you stay home? Could you do these things? That's one thing. Saying you have to or we're going to fine you, I got a big issue with that. Oh, you can't go talk to people. You can't get near people. You can't freely associate. You can't do this. All these civil liberties, they're gone for now. It's an emergency. I don't buy that. I reject it completely. All right, everyone. Read. Out for now.